Hello and welcome to Around the Scene. I'm one of your hosts, PWR Ryan, and joining me this evening is a lovely group of players. I'm going to have to go through and do this to all of them. We do it to every guest. You know, you got to stick with the program. First up, we have the sound that comes after lightning strikes. We've got Thundah. Second, we've got the man known as the world's best calmer, Satthew. Thirdly, we have the sound puppers love to make. It's Bork. And last but not least, the guy who helped me get this all put together today. Really appreciate it. He refuses to cook his steak, though, and for that, we have Rawgreg. How you guys doing?
Great, but I'm much faster than whoever Lightning is, so I don't... That's crazy. See him beat me to the ball, I dare ya.
Just try to be a bit faster. So, guys, we have you here today to discuss the play-ins coming in this weekend. And, you know, we have some predictions. Obviously, I'm not going to bother trying to hide a couple of these predictions because we kind of saw them coming, except for Bork's for some reason.
Yeah, Bork goes, Sway, Poco, either one can make it.
Bro, it could happen, dude. I'm predicting that we'll play Poco Loco for the last team to get in.
Okay, I guess we're not going for winners.
I just don't know how you put yourself tied with another team.
Hey, you know, I'm just being optimistic.
No, you're being pessimistic.
No.
God, that's a terrible outlook.
No, it is not.
Yeah, I think that's the opposite of optimistic.
Hey, you know,
At least you put us first. At least you didn't put Poco / Sway.
I'm the one who wrote that down for him.
Well, no, but then we asked him about it, and he said, you know, Poco. Like, oh, remove Poco. Nah, Sway.
hey, Poco's a nice team. You never know, okay?
But guys, before we as we go through this, we'll discuss predictions and stuff too along the way. But you know, just you guys have played against a lot of the teams that are going to be participating in this. You guys are among favorites, of course. Just lay it out for us a little bit amongst yourselves. Like, what was the off season like, and is it just me, or does it feel like the bubble scene is getting more and more competitive?
Who wants to go first?
Well, I'm assuming the off-season was almost as stressful for me as it was for Satthew.
How's that?
Because I had to find a team, first off.
I did too.
Yeah.
Yes. You might have been in a slightly better position before that than me.
Okay.
But I had to find a third 12 hours before signups closed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You had slightly longer than me to find a third.
That's true. Greg, you continue the discussion.
Yeah,
I was
Greg,
just gonna
the
say,
leader.
Oh my! I was just gonna say, I think like me and Bork's off season are drastically different than Satthew and Thundah's because we kind of knew that going into it was gonna be our team. Like from the get-go, we knew that it was me, Bork, and Seal. So it was like there was no like getting ready and trying to find a team and scrambling. We knew the entire time who it was gonna be. So like that whole aspect of it was completely eliminated. So like we got ready early, I think. Whereas like I think like with Thundah, obviously he thought he had a team, and then it kind of got ripped away from him, and then he had to find another team and then grind with that team. So that's different. And then obviously with Satthew, like I don't know the whole story there, but like I know he had to find a team late too because he was trying out a bunch of people.
Well, yeah, because Satthew, you guys have been playing a lot with First Killer. So kind of how was that for you guys?
Yeah, doing that was kind of unfortunate just because it took away time from what we believe is more important in RLRS training and qualifying for that. So, I mean, it was a good time. We got to, obviously go to Montreal and win a couple things, but we always prefer playing with Dapper just because RLRS is like what matters, and same with
that's
RLCS.
the goal.
Yeah, right. DreamHacks can wait. It's all about RLRS and RLCS.
But being that you played with First Killer so much, though, what are your thoughts on him as he gets? Because it's next season that he's of age, right?
Yeah, next season.
So what are some of your thoughts on him? Because he's been crazy lately. He's had a lot of results, and y'all did really well together. You two, and Shock. So
yeah. I mean, he's obviously really talented. he's still a young kid, so he has to kind of experience some stuff and kind of get rid of some nerves as well as, just work on like some attitude things. But it's nothing like crazy bad. Like it's something that a lot of players have, and as long as he, just keeps working on his like mental fortitude and his attitude, he'll go straight to the league. In my opinion, he'll go to RLCS.
That's 100%. He's going straight to the league.
Going straight to the league.
He's not gonna have to qualify for RLRS. I don't think.
I don't believe so.
How many of you are like, yeah, he's just moving up?
All of us,
I think all of us. We've talked about it before. Like there's a couple players that like in the bubble that are just gonna go straight there. And like even right now, like I think I was talking to Seal about it last night, because there's 6 teams that are gonna stay in RLRS this season. I think you're gonna see a lot more teams shift and grab bubble players that like may not be in there right now, but let's just say their team doesn't work out and they're like maybe bottom 3 out of those 6. You could see somebody where like they could grab one of the top bubble players and they're saying, okay, we're just going to bring you straight up to RLRS. Whereas like, I think before, because there was only 4 teams staying, and really it's in an NA, it's been like, okay, this year there's only 3 that stayed. And then the year before, I think there was 2.
Yeah.
So
like I think it was like the past, counting this one too, almost every single time we've always had like 6 openings.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's not like there was like, I don't know. I just feel like the really, really, really elite players will find a way into RLRS, whether it be through qualifying with their own team or they're just going to get picked up because they play well with those players anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody else want to add thoughts on it or anything? I mean,
Uh,
we're just
first
kind of
killer goat.
freewheeling, so whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll talk about.
He's going straight to energy. I'm calling it.
Who's your replacement?
I don't know. I don't know where First Killer is going to go, but I just don't see there being a realm of like possibility that he's going to have to qualify for RLRS, because in my opinion, if First Killer, at literal worst case scenario, he's going to go straight to an RLRS team.
Yes.
And that's worst case scenario for him. And like, there's no bad RLRS team that he would go to where First Killer would get on there and they wouldn't be a favorite.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of wouldn't even say that he would go to RLRS. It would kind of just be a straight like RLCS move. But again, like what Satthew saying, there's things that he is probably going to have to work on that would make orgs and players up there trust 100% that the right decision is to put him on the team immediately.
Yeah, and like we've talked about here on the show a couple times, is just that fact of like it is still such a young scene, and I mean, sometimes you just got to grow, and so everybody here's still trying to grow. And no, I'm definitely with you, especially him being that like he's not even old enough to be able to participate. Like, yeah, there's plenty of growth to be done there, and I mean, he'll get there, but I mean, I always felt that he was going to be one of those guys who jumped straight up. So it's interesting to like get like reassurance from you guys too.
Yeah, I mean, when you play against somebody like that, like especially him, it's immediate. You know it immediately. Yeah. Like he's one of the few players. I mean, very, 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 very few players that when you play, he jumps out on the field immediately. Like the things that he does, and like even it's just the winning mentality of him too. Like I know me and Satthew have talked a few times about like there are certain players that are really, really good. Then they get in certain situations and they don't perform. First Killer literally checks every single box as far as a competitive player. I mean, you get him into a money tournament and good luck.
I mean, he's done crazy well with all the astronauts tournaments, so like I don't doubt that.
They might as well just name the trophy after him, to be honest.
So we have a lot of our predictions here. What is an honorable mention in a lot of your guys' minds?
Oh, for RLRS?
For RLRS predictions. One team that like you would pick, but you're not going to because there's just something about them that you're like, I just don't see it.
There's for me, it's Avidity, but it's not even because they're not good enough. It's just that there's not enough spots for them.
Yeah.
What you said, Avidity?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
would have to agree with that too, just because they're all nuts young players who have literally the most passion I've seen for this game ever. Like they wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, probably skip school and play all the way 24 hours and go to school.
I like the game too, but I'm not getting up that early.
No, and they're grinders, and like the thing about Avidity that I've always loved, like when we first started scrimming them like early in the off season, I loved the fact that they all played together and they were loyal to each other. it was like you couldn't split up that team, and it reminded me of Bork and Seal so much that I was like,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is they reminded me of that too.
Where it's like Percy and Chicken are this duo, and you have Innocence who like complements them so well, and it's like, I really think that team, even if they don't make it this time, that Chicken, in my opinion, is one of those players that will jump straight. Like, I don't think that he has the not straight to like RLCS, but I think that he's going to be one of those candidates for RLRS teams to pick up if it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
But I think that Percy and Chicken just have the way that they play in today's meta, like whatever, is so perfect for play-ins. It's perfect against all these teams that are up there. So if they don't make it this year, I'm not going to say anything, but like I think that they're a really, really good team. So if they don't make it, it wouldn't surprise me, but they're going to make it soon because they're up-and-comers.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're a little bit into the show now, so I think the first pick we all kind of agreed on. So I'm going to go ahead and reveal that, and then we'll talk about it. Everybody, our very first pick was Afterthought.
Really?
No surprise there.
Hey.
So,
Afterthought.
Yo, I forgot the T. I forgot the T on that. That's a different team right there.
Who is
After,
that?
though.
Who
That's
are
Matthew.
Well, me, Greg, and Thundah are all on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who Satthew's picking either, to be honest.
Okay.
But Bork, Thundah, and Rawgreg, why don't you guys kind of explain what it is about them that you guys find so threatening that you just see them immediately punching through? And then Satthew, I want to ask you a question after that. I don't care who goes first.
They're playing Afterthought is it's hard. Like you could be as aggressive as you want against them. Like on the offensive side, they'll let you shoot 30 times on the net. But they're so good on the defensive side that they'll save it all 30 times, and then they'll sit there and wait for the tiniest opportunity, and then you'll get countered so fast and get scored on.
Yeah.
Just because they're all solid, they're great on defense, and their offense is just impeccable. So it's really hard to play them.
Yeah.
No, and I mean they had some awesome results too. I mean, I remember during these, I want to say it was the DreamHack Montreal qualifiers. I want to say it was during those. Like, you guys actually, did y'all take down Space Station or did y'all come close to it? I couldn't remember.
We beat Space Station, but
Yeah,
that
y'all
was
did.
also with first killer.
That was the first killer, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess, Satthew, that's a question for you then is, what are some of your thoughts about the fact that you guys are such a favorite going into this? I mean, does that leaves a lot of pressure on you guys to try and make it through?
I wouldn't say so, just because we've all been doing this for so long.
No, I mean, you
when
guys
I was-
have a tremendous amount of experience behind you.
Yeah, so when I was with Bread, that was only 2 seasons ago. We were the 1 seed going into quals, and there was no issue for us getting in there. It's just business at this point, and while I guess Shock and Dapper's definitely been high seeded in tournaments before, but Shock really hasn't yet. But I also don't expect Shock to crack under pressure because he's probably our most solid player. So, I'm confident in the team and myself going into quals.
Yeah. I think the thing that makes Afterthought so deadly is that it's like, first of all, I have a lot of like respect for Satthew as a leader, and I think that every single like team that he's put together has always had an identity to it where they play as a team. And it's like Bork was saying, like, you can put shots on them and then it's almost like they're waiting there and they're like, are you done? And then they all move up together and they have very threatening shots. And just the way that they're built, it's like, I think Dapper is extremely threatening on the ball. Like that's it's just like one of those players that he gets the ball, and if he has the ball near his car, you have to be careful because it's like a chain to him. And I think that Satthew and Shock complement that so well that they'll scare the shit out of you. It's just that simple. And then like because they're all high level, I mean, I want to say you guys are all rank S, right?
Yes, we are.
Oh, so I mean, when you talk about bubble teams, I think Afterthought is tier 1 and everybody else is like tier 3. Like there's no other bubble team right now that's comparing to that resume at all. Like you have Dapper who used to play in RLCS, you have Satthew who's playing RLCS, you have Shock who's an up and comer, was in RLRS last year, I'm pretty sure, and then
yeah, he was on the previous Afterthought team, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like exactly. So it's like look at like that resume plus them all having been there before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's like bubble teams can sit there and call them overrated because it's one of the things that they like to do, but it's not true. It's 100% not true. You can call them overrated, but they're the tier 1 bubble team and it's not close. In my opinion, and I'm not putting any pressure on you, Satthew. Like I'm just saying like it's almost a lock because they shouldn't lose to anybody because the way that the seeding is going to go is they probably should be the 1 seed. So they're going to play the 32 in the quarters, the 16 in the like the semis to get in, and then the 8 seed to get in from the winner. So it's like their road shouldn't be like.
Well, and the other thing too is we saw the 1 seed last season in the former Sway Esports roster. They really struggled, and they ended up they barely beat out Pink Haired Fan Club last season, and then I want to say they dropped to
Afterthought.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is they dropped to Afterthought, and so it's like,
yeah, they did drop to RBG too.
And so
and then RBG in lowers, yeah.
Yeah, and Thundah, you guys came super close last season as well. I mean, you got to want this pretty bad. I can feel.
Yeah, hoping for it.
But it's one of those things that, despite being the number 1 seed, it's interesting when you see and you're like, okay, like this is theoretically supposed to be the easiest road through, but oftentimes it's once you get to like the top 10 teams in the end of the bracket, it starts to be a little surprising, some of the results that occur.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this year more than ever, it's like I drew like I had this like little like I'm actually gonna send it to you because it's kind of, I mean, it makes sense because for anybody that like does like brackets or anything,
yeah,
it this makes sense to everybody, but basically there's this format where what pool you're in. I just sent it to you, Ryan.
Okay.
But like across those horizontal lines, like if you're in the top 4 teams in each pool get their own pool. So depending on what seed you are, like you'll know basically who you have to go up against. And I think that with having a higher seed like that, it benefits you.
Oh, it does tremendously.
But especially with somebody like Afterthought, in my opinion, they're one of the strongest 1 seeds that's been here in a while. And I would actually say that the strongest 1 seed we've ever seen in RLRS is Bread. Like, I don't think that another team has, for RLRS at least, for that type of play-ins, has been stronger than Bread. But Afterthought, like this year compared to the rest of the field, as far as experience and everything, it just looks like head and shoulders above everybody else. That's like the weirdest part. But
yeah, no, and I agree with you on that too. Because I mean, I remember last season when I was looking at the number 1 seeds and stuff, they weren't one of my picks to get through. Among the 6, like I didn't call them, and sure enough, I was right on it. But it's one of those things that like I looked at that team and I still wasn't totally confident in them. I didn't feel like I was sold on them. But like Satthew and you guys, like I'm pretty sold on y'all. I've seen enough of y'all's results that, and I've seen just like some of the teams y'all played against that I'm like, okay, like this team's got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I think so too. Because I just think that like the interesting part about this play-ins is that it's going to be teams after like the teams 6 through like 18 are it's so jumbled and everybody is so close because most of the teams, to be honest, are like rank AX, but they're all those teams are rank AX players. And so when you're looking at them, you're like, how can you differentiate? And the only thing that you can differentiate between is results, I guess. But it's gonna be a bloodbath. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, no, I remember last season it was the top. It was like once you got out of the top 4 or 5, I believe, it was like all the way down to the 20th seed. I was like, I think a couple of these ones who are way down here could maybe take it. Like, it was crazy. It's crazy to see how much more competitive it's becoming. And I mean, at the same time though, that's gotta make it so much harder on you guys as the players, because I mean, just this is the big day for all of you guys.
Right. It's Christmas.
No, like I saw your tweet earlier. I was like, "Yep, it's Christmas. That's exactly what it is."
It's Christmas, and it's funny because like Seal said something earlier where he's like, you ride the emotion. It's either going to be the most heartbreaking day or it's going to be one of the best days for you, and there's no in between, because I think every single team that enters this thing, I would say even up to seed like 32 thinks they're in.
Oh yeah.
And then like, because it's one tournament, you could be. So like, you play really, really well, and all of a sudden you drop in a game 5 or something, and you're like, oh my god, we had it. Oh my god, we had it. And it's like, you start thinking about that.
No, and like that's the funny thing too about Rocket League is it goes with that like football saying of any given Sunday, because so many teams can pull off these upsets, and it's, I mean, even in RLCS, it's gotten even more and more competitive to where I've been of the mindset that I think this season is a good chance, but I think for sure by season 9, the big 3, at least for North America, isn't really going to be the case so much anymore.
That's interesting.
Just because everyone is starting to even out a bit more, that I just don't see how they're going to retain this dominance that they've had before.
The thing with the big 3 though is that they've had so much time together. Like,
no, they have. Like, if anything,
just,
that's
like,
their
they even separate themselves from rank S players. Like I'd say that like Squishy, Torment, Gimmick, and then even going back to like Fire and like Justin and Garrett, they play rank S, but it's like, it's almost rank S and all those 6-man types lobbies that like the players that are coming up in them. It's so different than the big dogs in NA right now, and I think that even those players are starting to separate themselves because they played together for so long that when you play them, that is a well-oiled machine. It's a completely different game.
No, I mean, they definitely are. I'm not saying that they don't have any of this experience and stuff, but at the same time, you do see teams like Space Station Gaming, when Satthew was a part of it, of you guys were a legitimate threat against a lot of these teams, and it was super interesting to watch this team come in and just shake things up so much. Unfortunate that the other team that went in with you couldn't do the same, but it's nice to see these bubble teams go, these RLRS teams move up and then really challenge these guys.
Yeah.
And I think when you see Birds and the Bees and the Peeps this season, I'm really interested to see how they're going to perform.
Yeah,
me too. Yeah, me too. I all those like the young and up and coming players, like they all have chances to take games off anyone. Like I think, like
no, I'm with you.
And they're grinding so hard too. Like the ones that like just get there, they have this hunger about them that like you can just tell immediately from when you play them. It's like they just got there, they got the taste, but now it's like, okay, I don't want to taste, I don't want to get bounced, I want to destroy. I want to destroy them, and I love that.
So moving on to the next one, we're gonna go ahead and show our second team picks. We all chose Linked Up. So what are some of y'all's thoughts behind this one?
Just a solid squad overall. They everyone besides Alpha Cap has RLRS experience, but I've heard Alpha Cap calm, and I know he's a good leader, and I just think they're also just a solid pick, I'd say, to get in.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Alpha Cap is another one of those players, like similar to Satthew, maybe to a lesser degree, definitely, but like when he puts together a team, the team gets results, and like he might not be the most flashy player, but he's just shown time after time that he puts together amazing teams that challenge for the high seeds in these play-ins. And even though it didn't go like the way he wanted to last year, I think that this is a really, really solid squad. And now he's playing with players that were there, so it's like
that's what I was about to say. Is he's got players with some RLRS experience already under their belt.
Right. Yeah, I think this Linked Up is just a solid squad. They're just so disciplined. Like they're just so disciplined. That's the way I would describe their team.
I also think that if you were trying to pick a player that wanted to make RLRS, I think Alpha Cup would be one of those top 3 players that wanted to make RLRS over anyone. Just because last season they had the 1 seed and they got upset twice and didn't even make it.
Yeah.
And you just got to think like what was going through his head in the off season, and I think he just had a fire lit under his butt, and he just went overdrive mode and grinded so hard, and it shows with shows where his team's at, and like that he's definitely a top favorite to make it.
Yeah. No, this one I can't remember what was their. Does anybody remember what their result was at the WGC thing?
WGN. I mean, they weren't playing with the full roster.
Oh yeah, they didn't have
Alpha
Alpha
Cup was playing on Noble, and Link Up was playing with Skills. Yep.
Oh yeah, I forgot the roster lock was after that.
Yeah, because they basically just traded, right? Noble
Yeah.
and Link Up was
Noble
like a
and
straight
Capella.
swap.
Yep.
Yeah. Noble
Alpha
and
Cup
Capella, right.
Skills.
This
I don't think that was Noble's idea though.
Yeah, this Noble team was interesting. They like came into this like esports team, like came into the scene, made a couple trades, had a team, and then just like left.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting. But I mean, good for them, to be honest. Like, you know, they got a bigger org in here. They got, you know, to get an org in the off season that early and benefit from it, that's all credit to the players there, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, and it was like their first team, what was it? It was Noxus, Astro.
Was it?
It was
I think
Noxus, Astro, and Noxus Zombie and Alpha Cup.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what it was.
Yeah. And then they got rid of Noxus and picked up Astro.
So, y'all, anything else you want to add on Linked Up and all that jazz?
Oh, I think Linked Up is just discipline. They're good to go.
Yeah.
By the way, for you guys who are watching at home, this isn't in any particular order. We just like threw team names down. This is just who's gonna make it through. We don't even know what the bracket looks like. That's not even released.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, once I see the bracket, like my picks may change a little bit.
I agree with that.
But moving on to the next one, we all picked Bullsend. We're just like a well-oiled machine here.
I guess we're linked up.
But Bullsend, they had a really awesome run through WGN. Everyone was super impressed with them. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch much of DreamHack Montreal, so I didn't get to really see what their performance was there. But I mean, you guys have all played these teams. I mean, I really just want to let people hear y'all's thoughts and all that.
I can go.
Greg, you start us off. Bork.
Okay. Yo, I'll be right back. I'll seriously be right back. Hold on one second.
I think with Bullsend winning, I think it was WGN, right? They won WGN.
Yeah.
I think with them winning WGN, that gave them so much confidence, and like it's crucial in plans to have confidence.
Yeah.
Because if a team doesn't have confidence, the team with the more more confidence is going to crush the team without confidence. Yeah. But also Bullsend, just like all our players, are mechanically they're so mechanically good, and a lot of times you'll see like with Communist or Dino or Stokely, a lot of the times they resort to the 1v1, and they'll have a guy go down the field and try to demo and try to make the third man really work for that save, and they just get so many goals off of that, and they have crazy last second saves, just the way how fast they're playing and where their rotations come in. But once they get you in the 1v1 or even in a 2v1, they're so lethal, and they'll score on you most of the time, just how talented they are in the 1v1 area.
Yeah.
Yeah, in WGN, they were crazy to watch. I was super impressed with them. And I mean, the other thing too is like going into it again, you already took a win off of a current RLRS team. So it's like that's got to feel again, like you were saying, that confidence level. It's going to be such a huge factor.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing with Bullsend, like I think nobody can argue how talented Bullsend is, but I think that like, and the other thing is that like they have Communism, who in my opinion is like an all-star type player. Like that's the type of player that's a game changer. You don't have many of those like in this tournament, like besides like the super top seeds, and then maybe like a couple like lower seeds sprinkled in, like one really great player. But Communism he's amazing. But I think that because they're so young and they thrive off of emotion, I wouldn't be surprised to see them struggle a little bit in this tournament, just like right away, just because of the emotion. And if they go down early or they start seeing a little bit of adversity, I don't know. Because they're not at LAN. You know, when you're right next to somebody and you're feeding off that energy, it's different than when you're at home. Like I don't know. That's the one team. Like I think that they should make it, and it should be pretty easy for them. But if it gets rough, I want to see how they respond.
No, I definitely would agree with you. It's interesting how like mentalistic Rocket League is, and like as I've been doing commentary and watching our tournaments week in and week out, I'm always blown away by just how easily some teams get shifted by like one simple bad play.
Yeah. Or like a series of bad plays or a game, and it's like,
yeah,
it's so crazy. And what's so crazy about Rocket League is that like you could have a bad play and it shifts your entire play style. And I think some players fall victim to like that level of tilt where it's like you make a bad play and you don't have the resilience to bounce back and make a great play to make up for it or something. And like in Rocket League especially, if you're feeling good, like if you come in and you're in a really, really happy mood and you play Rocket League, like 9 times out of 10 you're gonna have a good day playing Rocket League. If you come in with a bad mentality and you start trying to play Rocket League, it's like swings everything. So if they come in and they have a good mentality, I think they're gonna be extremely tough just because of the way they play. Like I don't know if Bork said, they're so demo heavy and so fast that like if they get you and they start feeling like they're getting you, then they're gonna just stay on your end and you're gonna have a rough time of it. But I also think that on play-in day, because it's like you lose one game, you start feeling like you're about to lose your entire season.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I want to see him keep it up. You know what I mean?
Everything is on the line.
Right. Satthew, what's your experience with like Satthew and Thundah? Like, what's your experience with Bull Send when you guys play them?
Overall, they have like an odd play style, but like in a way that it benefits them and kind of can hinder other teams from doing what they want. Dino's very demo priority, and it works really well, honestly.
Yeah.
He really does throw off a lot of players and a lot of teams. And then, like you said, Communism's just a game changer. He's crazy good at the game. I know he's a smart player too, and he's a smart kid, so he kind of can like give the team new ideas and comms and how they should approach certain situations.
Yeah.
And then Soakley's just like a player who's improved a lot recently, like in rank X 6-mans and the such. So yeah, they're really good. They're probably like my 2 seed. And they're really fast and they're scary.
And what's weird is that like it was somebody like Dino too, like he is so demo heavy, but like he's actually so creative too. Like if something goes wrong for him, his ability to like adapt on the spot to certain things and like either demo you or like he had a play the other day against us in either scrims or one of the skirmishes that he messed up a flick entirely, okay? But immediately after he messed up the flick, he just kept boosting and he got in front of the ball and demoed me, and I was like, it was just but it was such a quick reaction that I was like, I can't even be mad because it's such a heads up play.
Yeah.
And like as much as it might be annoying and you could call it, it's a good play. There's nothing you can do about that. And a player like that, it's scary to play somebody that they might mess up, and a regular player just messes up and you're like, oh, I'm gonna clear it. But that kid will start coming at your face and like you're like, oh my god, this is terrible.
Yeah, that ability to adapt so fast. And so like that's just kind of a question for you guys is, I mean, it being such a mentalistic game, and the fact of like one play can really shift how you're doing the rest of the game. Like what are some ways that you guys try to keep yourself in that zone, like keep yourself in the proper mindset? Because man, this game is so easy to tilt you.
That is. Thundah, how do you keep your team in there, bro?
I'm the wrong person to ask about that. I'm the one that gets tilted.
You're the glue that holds them together. How do you do it?
Well, basically, I just yell at the other team and complain about how bad they are when they're beating me.
That's 100%
true. That's the best response.
And it works sometimes.
I mean, I play with plenty of people who they start yelling at the other team. I'm just like, yeah, they are bad.
Yeah,
I think if you heard like all the players' comms, like if you heard like inside of like actual like players' comms other teams, it's so toxic.
It's so bad.
Because I know how we are. I know how we are, and it's like, it's bad.
You could literally be best friends. Like, let's say, like me and Greg are playing like Satthew or like Toon's team. Literally, we're like, oh my god, dude, he's so bad. Why did he miss that? And you get scored on it, and you just go in. You just
we'll be like, okay, here comes Thundah. He's passing to the middle. Oh my god, he's so bad. And then like we'll get scored on them. We're like, oh my god, we knew.
That's the thing too, is I totally can hear it all.
It's fun though. I think like the way like I know personally like for us like for me and Bork and Seal like we're just such good friends that like if something goes wrong for us we don't really we kind of laugh it off. Like I think our main thing is that like no matter what we're always having fun and like finding fun in situations. So it's like even if something crazy happens, like Bork had this stretch of like probably like 2 months where he was own goaling consistently through every single scrim series we had in every single tournament. And then so Bork would just be like, oh well I'm gonna own goal, like let's just get out of the way now. And then he would own goal and we'd be like, okay Bork, are you done? And like it's just like it's just funny stuff like that where like I think that if you can find just like
if you can find the humor in it, yeah.
Exactly. And I think that like as long as you can stay level-headed and also know that like you know you have to come prepared and like you can be open about communication, then
yeah,
like you should be fine.
Well, it's that thing too of like you're openly accepting like mistakes, they're gonna happen, shake it off, move on. Like we can't let that be what defines us, and so it's interesting. I like the idea of finding comedy in it all.
Yeah. It's unfortunately for us, it's way too easy to find comedy in the way we play. So
I can imagine.
That's our weakness. We'll do something stupid, and all of a sudden we just start laughing. And once one of us starts laughing, it's so hard to stop. It's so bad.
I could totally see it. All right, we're gonna open up the next one. You guys have all chosen 72 pin connector to make it through, and then mine sway for that box. But that team consists of Lion Blaze, Nox's, and Jacob. I haven't gotten to see many results from this team personally, and I think like the one time I did tune into a tournament they were playing, it didn't look that good. So what is it that makes you think that this is going to be one of the teams that make it through?
Jacob.
Yeah.
It's just like now like all the teams that like you play like Aptatol, Linked Up, Bullsend, or even us or Nefarious, like we all have kind of the same style, but we play a little bit differently. 72 PC literally does not play like any other team. They benefit off of the weirdest stuff, and they're just always there for each other for the craziest things, and it's so hard to adapt against them.
Well, and part of it is any of that still due to Jacob, because whenever he was in RLCS, he had one of the wackiest play styles that really threw a lot of people for a loop.
It's
so wacky.
He hasn't worked it out.
no,
but you don't need to work it out.
Yeah, he doesn't. And Line Blaze feeds off of that
really
like so much, and it's just hard. It's hard to beat them. It's just, like you could put 5 goals against that team every game, and they'll put 6.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We've had games. I mean, we've had series with them where we've gone into like 3 straight overtimes with them, and it's like the games are so close, but like the differences in those games they make such good solo plays. Like the way that they get out of trouble is like you think you have them read, and then they do something that you haven't seen before. Like like Seal said it to us a bunch of times. Like Jacob is literally like inventing new mechanics when you don't even realize.
Just
like,
on the fly.
On the fly. It's literally on the fly, and then you're like, oh, I got it, and all of a sudden he has like a double flip reset on you, and you're like, okay, but it's a pass, and then Lion Blaze is putting it in your net, and you're like, I guess that's how we lost. But they're actually like, to what Bork was saying, I think they're the most they have the most unique playstyle out of all the bubble teams, and I think all bubble teams, because they're not they're not refined in the way that they play, are also interesting because they're also unique in their playstyle. Like they rely on their strengths, but they have so many weaknesses, so they usually go towards their strengths, which you'll see like that.
They lean really hard into the strengths. Like that for me is one of my favorite things about commentating the bubble scene, is because it's just so much fun to watch how these teams. Because I think you can see there's a bit more strategy involved in the bubble scene. Almost, it feels like.
I would say just like it's just so much more. You could just see like all the individual players like shine and fail.
Yeah, you see exactly where they're great and where they're not.
Exactly. So it's like, oh, you don't want I don't know, I can't even think of a team right now, but like you don't want 72 PC when the game's fast, because if Lion Blaze and Jacob slow it down, they're going to be good. But it's like, so like just like the strategy part of it is really interesting in the bubble scene always.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely interested. Again, like that just hasn't been a team that I've really been able to see results or anything from. So I just haven't been I haven't been keeping my eye on them too much. And then obviously my pick being the only one that's different for this box, but I think a couple others had you guys. But Rawgreg, Bork, I picked you guys just because I've watched so many of y'all's games. I've seen y'all's results. I've seen how y'all play. I like the level of synergy that you guys have. And I mean, just every single time I've watched you guys play, there's like y'all were saying before, there's a lot of confidence there and trust between what y'all are doing that. For me, y'all were one of those teams that was like, it's hard for me not to want to pick you guys.
I appreciate that. I think kind of like, I think when we're playing really, really well, I think that our peak level of play, and I'm not just saying this because it's like, my team, I think that our peak level of play is higher than almost every team that I've seen. But I know that also,
I've seen you guys, like, once y'all start get moving, like, y'all haven't been, no one's been able to stop you guys in a lot of cases for what I've seen.
Right. And I really think that, like, if we start putting you on your back foot and we start, there's definitely parts of our game that we could improve, but I think that when we get you on your back foot, that's when we become very deadly. I think we're a very physical team, and like with somebody like Bork who controls the midfield and somebody like Seal who literally is moving at supersonic speed that like not even people in the pro scene move at, I think it causes a lot of problems.
Yeah. So that's why I picked you guys. I got a lot of confidence in y'all. I got a lot of confidence in all y'all's teams though. Next one, you guys all chose Nefarious. I did too, but just not in that box. They're a little down lower.
I mean, we'll see. Let me see.
Nah, you guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and show it now for mine. Blue. Phil, do it. There it is. So
there we go.
So Nefarious, I want to hear from everyone that's not Thundah. Why did you guys pick Nefarious?
Literally, they're the team that makes you want to jump through your window.
Yeah.
I believe Nefarious, and I believe they are the fastest team in plans.
Yeah.
Like, they benefit so much off of speed that it doesn't even matter if all three of them are on your side of the field. They're gonna put the ball in, and on top of that, they don't even rotate back. They rotate into your net, and they're always demoing you. And yeah, it's a play style that if you're not mentally prepared, you're gonna get destroyed, and you're gonna go jump out your window.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that I didn't think that Turinturo and Thundah were gonna work together, but they're like Turinturo he lives on your side of the field, and Thundah lives just taking your boost. Like if you look at like players around the scene, Thundah takes the most opposing big boosts out of anybody ever. And so like when you start becoming boost starved and they start getting those middle passes off, it's tough to beat them because their passing is really, really like spectacular from the back. And even on offense, like we mock them all the time. We're like, okay, here they go, and they're gonna pass middle, and they do. But what's funny is that they're one of those teams that you know what they're gonna do, but stop it. And it's, to me, that's a mark of a good team, that even though you know what they're doing, they're still able to execute at a high level.
Yeah. Satthew, what are some of your thoughts on this team?
Overall, like big takeaways, Turinturo is like incredibly fast. Best way to describe Thundah is ambitious. He likes to go for.
I like that.
I like to go for some balls.
Thundah's like, yes.
I'm not thinking yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a nice use for me.
I'd say, but it's kind of to play on what Greg said earlier. But Buddy is really smart, I think, in the back. He finds his teammates, either an upfield pass or actually a back pass. He does both. So I think he kind of keeps the ball flowing for them and keeps the play flowing and makes sure that they retain possession. So I think, I think they're just also a great team. Obviously, they're one of the reasons why some of my honorable mentions like aren't on this list. But yeah, I think they should actually have a very. I think they'll actually make it in pretty smoothly.
Okay.
That's what I was waiting for.
And Thundah, do you agree with a lot of what they're saying, or is there anything else that you think helps make you guys such a deadly team?
I know what helps us play bad.
Yeah, I'll explain it to everybody in the bubble scene listening right now.
Okay, here's what you gotta do.
Okay. Let's hear it.
You gotta make me and Turinturo fight for the ball.
But that happens every single time anyway.
And it's not hard to do.
No, but what do you think makes you good? Like, what do you think? What do you think the reason you do so well against? Like, I think that you guys do extremely well against like teams that are below you. Like, I don't think you have ever struggled with a team that is like the consistency that you guys beat lower teams at is interesting to me. And like, why do you think that that's true?
Because the only teams that beat us are teams that can catch up to our speed. I think.
Who can match that pace?
Who can, or if they just like afterthought, they just let us go. I can't say that word on stream, but they let us, let's say, run in a circle until we run out of breath, and then they just kick the ball into our net when we're catching our breath.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, you guys have like a really like. I think that like the way you guys play is so team oriented, and as much as it looks chaotic, it's like. It's so team oriented. Like there's a high level of synergy that goes into it. I think
that actually reminds me. Whenever we scrim Nefarious, we're always talking about how they have the most elite passes in
they
like,
do,
the
dude.
Like there's just like one player will hit it and the other's just there, and we're just like, oh my.
In the corner, in your own corner, they will just be touching the ball, and then you're like, okay, they touched the ball, it's not dangerous. And then the other one comes, and you're like, okay, what are they doing? And then all of a sudden, it's in your net, and you're like, okay, chill.
Too fast.
Yeah, they're fast. They're definitely fast.
No, it's interesting though, because how did you guys do in WGN again?
You know.
I get it's like so far out that I really can't remember what the results were.
We definitely went there. I don't remember what happened when we were there. I remember going to the hotel afterwards and sitting in the room, me and Buddy, watching 8 hours of a Netflix show after whatever happened. I'm pretty sure I own gold in overtime. It was kind of nasty, though. A double touch into my own net.
Nuts. You're actually nuts.
It was kind of... Yeah, we got swept by Bull Send. And then we got swept by Noble, and then we left the arena.
Nice. Literally took a plane home.
The next day, me and Buddy spent the day at the aquarium.
At least you got team bonding in.
Yeah. And then we actually went back because they served free pizza at 2. We went back for the free pizza and then left.
Okay.
But we saw Bull Send win while we were there, though.
Nice.
That was pretty cool. But it was a fun weekend. Didn't play a whole lot of Rocket League. But Toronto's pretty cool. They got good food. Their Subway's really nice.
Okay.
And moving on to the next one. Our 6 teams. I chose Avidity. Rawgreg, Thundah, all of you guys chose Sway except Bork and Satthew. They're going halfsies. And personally, I chose Avidity. I know that a lot of you guys were saying like you think that they're like right at the cusp. I think that they've got what it takes in them. I think at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to again what we were kind of talking about, that confidence going into it. And I think they definitely have the ability to go in and take it and over some of these other teams. But I mean, I've always been really stoked watching them play, just how quick they are on the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, the 7th spot's the hardest to predict.
Exactly.
I think that like
it could go. There's like 4 different teams that I think could take it.
Yeah.
I don't know who you want to talk about, Avidity or Sway or who's the other one?
Sway,
Cheese.
Poco, and Cheese.
Okay.
We got a lot of options in this bottom one.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think Avidity like. Avidity is, I don't know. I actually think that like if you're just talking about talent, Avidity it has to be up there. They have to be one of the teams to pick. But like, I just think that because they're so unproven, and I don't mean like unproven in like a result way. It's just they're unproven in the fact that it's like they're so new to the bubble scene that it's like, well, are they going to do it, or are they too new? But they're so ready. They are ready, so like it wouldn't surprise me.
It was, I don't remember what their seeding was last season, but going from last season, they definitely weren't top 15 if I remember correctly.
I don't think so.
They were a Linity back then.
Yeah, and I don't even think they had Chicken. I think it was like Marcy, Gordon, and somebody else.
Yeah.
So they weren't even that high of a seed back in last season. This season, they're looking to be pretty high up there. Definitely a top 20 seed for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm
top
predicting
10
them
probably.
through, so.
Yeah.
But Poco and Cheese, let's hear it. What about those two? And Bork, why do you think that they're gonna take over your spot possibly?
Well, it's hard to explain, but it comes down to like I believe we can make it, but like at the same time, I don't want to give us like all the credit. Like, oh, we're gonna win, no problem. It's because our
Healthy
team.
skepticism.
It's hard because our team, we only play two kinds of Rocket League. We either play really good Rocket League or we play really bad Rocket League.
Yeah.
And people might like wonder like, do we ever like get mad or whatever we get scored on? No, our problem is we get scored on, we might break out laughing and we can't breathe and we can't play the game.
Yeah.
And that screws us all. That screws us so bad because when one person starts breaking out laughing, the other person starts breaking out laughing, the whole team starts laughing,
Yeah.
and then we're just getting clanged on.
Yeah,
But I think Poco, like I said, I think we'll play him in the plains, and if we come to play, we'll beat him. But if we don't, I think Poco can definitely take that spot just because they're just so good. And I think Duck is rank X now, right?
Yeah.
And I think him leading that team will, and they're just, I don't know, it's hard to, they're just so good.
Yeah.
I actually think, I think that, I don't know if Duck's the leader of that team, but I know that Beastabonium, like I was telling somebody in here earlier today, like, I just like Beastabonium's attitude. I think that, like, the confidence that he breeds into a team and, like, his comms and, like, it's just a competitive mentality that some players have and some players don't. And I think in esports, you don't find people with, like, really, really good competitive mentality all the time because it's like they're good at a video game, but it's like, do you know how to be good in a team video game and like keep your teammates up? And I think that Beastabonium is one of those players that like he just has a great competitive mentality. So like I think that when the time comes, he'll shine in that moment.
Yeah. Satthew, why do you think Cheese is gonna make it through? And don't tell me it's just because Absorbent Karma's here in chat.
No, I mean, so I say Cheese, because I'm also slightly biased because Toasty is Moses' little brother, so
Clang Lord. Absolute Clang Lord.
He has like the Rocket League like blood in him, like he's got to make it, right?
It's just like a family line, family lineage.
But I mean, that Cheese Sway spot I think could be also occupied by like possibly an Avidity because they have a really high ceiling. I also really do like Poco Loco. I like Greg already mentioned, I love Beastabonium. I think he's a great player. I think their squad is really good. I also say Cheese because it's like recency bias because we scrimmed them most recently. But no, they're a solid team. And Deck he's the
loosest player in Rocket League.
The what?
The loosest player in Rocket League.
What does that mean?
He's loose. Dude, every single time I look at him, his car is like just flipping and moving in a weird way. He just looks so loose all the time.
He definitely does some things on the field that can throw a team off. So I think that's a good factor for them. But it could also break them down during play-ins. I'm really interested to see how they do on Saturday.
Yeah. They were one of those teams that I was even kind of looking at that I was like, I think they could be like, I think they're a top 10 team, but I was like, I want to pick them, but I'm also not sure.
Yeah, I think what really helped him was I think everyone in the bubble scene, everyone was caught off guard because no one really knew. Well, yeah, Cheese was a roster, but these past skirmishes that they have been beating so many teams.
Yeah.
And you're just getting surprised, and they just keep beating and beating and beating all these like top teams, and I think they even beat us once, right? I think they beat us once, and I don't know. They're a team. They could definitely be a dark horse and take out pretty good teams.
That was kind of my thought too. Is like I think that they could definitely be that team that like kind of swoops in and takes it.
Yeah, I think like it's weird because like a lot of these teams, you can start seeing you start seeing them separate themselves. And I think Cheese is a team that I didn't know how they were going to separate themselves, but they put a barrier up between them and a lot of the teams that I think they were originally compared to. And like, to me, that's impressive because that means you proved yourself and did exactly what you're supposed to do. So like, I think the skirmishes and like all the tournaments like leading up benefited Cheese the most.
Yeah. Anybody else got anything else they want to throw out on Cheese?
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, just only reason I don't confidently say Sway is because of, the history behind Seal and Bork. While they have a long, extensive history, they have a history of making it so close. And
we also have the biggest history of choking literally ever since we get there, and we poop the bed. And...
That's like...
playing game? Okay, we'll go to game 5 and lose.
That's like the mean way of saying what I was saying, pretty much. But like, yeah, I mean, like... I want them to make it because they're all my good friends. But I have to be honest and I have to be completely fair. And like I said, that spot could also be occupied by Avidity or Poco, or there's like one more team.
I mean, we're not even mentioning compadres.
I mean, we haven't gotten through all of them yet.
Spoilers.
I'm spoiling.
I guess I'm just
You're really bad.
because for me, it's I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, and also Stonks is one that I have my eyes on. I think are a solid team. So yeah.
Well, why would you pick us over the other teams that are there, and why wouldn't you pick us? Because obviously, like the inconsistency matters, but like
it's like the same. It's like the same answer for both questions. The experience, because you have this, like Bork and Seal have this long experience of just constantly playing in these play-ins, so that should be like a advantage in their belt. But at the same time, they also like have that experience is them losing almost every qualifier match. So it goes both ways, and it's like where their head is and where your head is on play-in day. So that's a scary thought to think of. So yeah.
And so I opened up the last one now. Thundah, Bork, Satthew, you guys all think compadres. Rawgreg, you agreed with me on Avidity, and then I put Frontline. Frontline, for everything I've heard about them, again, I'm doing so much that I'm not able to see every single team, but from everything I've heard about them, they look really solid, and WGN. I was also looking at those teams that did make it to WGN as possible teams that are looking to go through in this, because so many of the teams are similar to those qualifiers.
Are you talking about Frontline?
Yeah.
My thoughts on Frontline, and this is completely honest, is that Frontline doesn't have results that are good without not playing with Brendan. And like I think that they played the WGN qualifiers with Demon. Then they played a little bit with J-Pow, and then when they played with Brendan, they went to WGN and they got ousted first day. And then since they've been back, they've kind of had a slippery, like, I don't know. I think they've had slippery results. And to be honest, like, I think that Andy and Alrez and like Brendan, they're great players. Like, but I just want to see them, like, they need to prove themselves, like, right now, because I think that they're on a team, like, to be honest, they're sliding.
Yeah.
Rather than rising.
I think they've only had two like above average results, like 2 wins in any of the skirmishes or head to heads.
Yeah.
I think they've lost every single one, and that goes back to they qualified WGN with Demon. They didn't qualify with Brendan, but who knows?
See,
they're
I'm
all
assuming
really...
these are all the current rosters that made it for that as well. I forgot there are some changes.
I'm pretty sure out of all the teams at WGM, only one of them was a real team, not an RLRS.
And that's true too. So like, I don't even know if those results are relevant. Yeah. So it's weird because it depends on what you take into consideration. Like, if it's interesting because like, let's just say Frontline, or at the time whatever they were Boulevard, they beat a team that was like really really good rank X players, but they're not a team anymore. That doesn't count. So it's like you can look at that and say, oh, that's pretty good, but it doesn't count. So you can't even use that as an official result.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part is some of these teams. They don't even like participate outside of like maybe those weekly skirmishes with Daz. And so it's like some of these, it's really hard to figure out like, okay, they have players of notoriety, but I haven't been able to look at results really. And so some of these teams, it makes it really hard to, kind of figure out where you're stacking up with them. But let's pivot over. Why compadres?
They're just 3 super talented players, really.
Yeah. I love compadres. I'm super biased towards them. Cause like Skills is a good friend of mine. Astro is like one of my best friends. I think Astro himself is like always like he is so talented at this game, and he is just like incredibly good at like kind of just being creative and just like doing things with his card that a lot of people can't, and just doing it pretty consistently. He also has that RLRS experience. He's made it with teams that I don't think should have made it, but he just absolutely carried.
Made it
He
work.
stayed in RLRS with I mean, then again, that compadre squad was good. I liked them, but they still stay like they finished top 4, and that was actually a decent feat considering some of the other teams in that season. And so I just have a lot of hope in them. I think Skills has a lot of potential. I think everyone knows Zombie is already crazy mechanically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think their big problem is defense.
Yeah,
Like,
probably.
I think that like they're the type of team that like if they're one of those teams that if they start get going on offense on you, they're hard to stop because they're so creative. Like you said, like all their players are extremely like skilled in putting the ball in the net. But I think that they don't. It just doesn't seem like they have that reliable player in the back, and it seems like they're scrambling a lot. And that's the one thing I've noticed, like with playing them and like watching them play against other teams. I think that like that is their main weakness. If they can get defense shored up, though, it's an insanely scary team because they are one of the best teams on paper.
Yeah. No, I mean that was one of the things. Whenever I was even looking at that team earlier, I was like, oh, that's another team that, and that's what gets so hard is once you start looking at these like last 2-3 spots, it really starts to kind of coalesce. You're just like, oh man, at this point, I don't really know which team could make it through.
Yeah,
I think Zombie Poop Shark is such an underrated player. I think, as the kids would say these days, cracked. That kid is cracked. He is so nasty.
Yeah.
That man can literally turn a failed play or like and just turn it into a goal almost every time. Like he'll catch you off guard almost every time. Like his mechanics are, I would even say they're like RLCS mechanics.
Yeah,
because
honestly.
he's just really good, and plus you have Astro backing Zombie Poop Shark, and you have Skills. I think playing around like the 2-man or even the 3-man, and Skills is just solid all around.
Yeah. It just like the only reason like I disagree with you, Bork, is that like I just think that they all want to play offense. Like I totally get what you mean, but like it's so weird because, like I said, like if they figure out like their identity, then yeah, that's a scary ass team, and I don't want to play them at all. But it just seems like they're the team that has the most like iffy like defensive identity out of like the top teams.
And you're not wrong. That's something I've talked to Astro about too, because he's realized that, and I've gave him my words of advice, and I think he's slowly taking them, and I think they're finding their identity. That's why I think
That's good.
That's why I think they're making. That's why I think they're scary.
And to be fair, that was the only reason I didn't pick them. And it's like, yeah, it's weird because I would have like that's a team that it seemingly should just be that they're in, and like
it should just be an easy call.
It should just be an easy call, and I guess I don't know. I just think that that's a team that the more they get it figured out, the more time they have together, the better they'll be. But I'm interested to see what happens on that day with that team in particular.
Well, we're gonna have to, wait and see. Again, seeding, it's not out yet. I mean, we're probably gonna wait till. Is the NA one? Are they still doing that on Saturday, or is that moving to Sunday?
That's Saturday.
Okay. So they have that on Saturday. I'm betting because they're doing the Rocket Royale thing tonight. That part of that was to help with seeding, but you all skipped that to be with me.
I think that the Rocket Royale, like I sincerely appreciate Cloud Fuel and Dazrin doing what they do, but it's so weird because if they would have done these Rocket Royales and like the skirmishes Dazrin got on top of pretty quickly,
yeah, that's
when people are fighting for seeds. Like the Rocket Royale is interesting because I think right now you have most of the top 10 teams locked. So there's not going to be a team that's like Afterthought's not going to enter that tournament and lose to somebody and then be like, uh-oh, they lost to this team. What are they going to do? Like,
yeah. This is like a last-minute fight to get some seeding placements.
Yeah, it's definitely good for like all the other teams though, like especially the ones like near the bottom of 128 that are trying to prove themselves and move up a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally could see it. I was curious as to what y'all's thoughts were on it because I was just like, like I'm doing this obviously, so I was
Right.
curious kind of.
And what's crazy is that back in the past, I remember Rocket Royale when that started coming around, like when that started happening, everybody entered. Every single team entered, and you had the most insane Swiss bracket of all time. And it's like, if that could happen earlier in the play-in like period, yeah, you would have every single team enter because you get so many results so fast that it's so easy for seeders to do it. And like even Cloudfield was just saying, this is so we don't have to randomize 11 through 32. Exactly. Like 11 through 32 is going to be like
that's where it gets really tense.
It does. And like there's and again there's also that theory that like I don't know. I think that there's so many different teams like coming near the top that you already know the top teams, and the top teams aren't going to play in something that's going to hurt them. But those 11 through 32 teams have a lot to fight for right now because, like I was saying, that when if you're the 13 seed and on, you're playing one of the top 4 seeds in the semifinals.
Yeah.
So it's like if you can sneak up into that 12,
hurdle.
Oh, that's so tough because then it affects where you go to the losers bracket too. So it's like, yeah,
no,
it's crazy.
It's such an intense day to watch, and it's one of those things that's like I love. Even though I can't watch every single game, just sitting there watching the bracket progress, like that alone is intense because I know how much this means to so many of you players, and I mean, I know personally because afterwards we bear the brunt of it as a tournament provider.
Ryan, what I was going to ask you is, what do you out of the teams that we didn't mention, like, we mentioned Afterthought, Compadres, Nefarious, Stonks, us, Avidity, Bullsen, 72PC. Who, out of the teams that we didn't mention, do you see any teams like in that 16 to 32 range that could make a run?
Stonks, we didn't talk about too much. They were one that I particularly was looking at just because I've seen Talon, Scruff, and Delta play so much that like I feel confident in their ability to pull off some upsets. But again, they're gonna have to work hard to pull those off. So that was one team. Like I know you mentioned them in your deal just now. The other one was probably Zabumafu because that's got T. Carell, Austin, and Krazix. And Krazix, he's been a really good player in all of our tournaments. Like he particularly has a really high offensive power, and so like that. Those are two teams that I was particularly looking at. That I was like, okay, like these guys could to make fun of the Reddit. These guys can cause some damage.
You can even put applesauce in there.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, that was the other one.
Hato.
I was trying to find.
Or no, Hato's on with Doombug and Sham.
No, Hato is it's Hato's own Spuda.
Oh.
Or no, that was Rays with Doombug. And
Rays with Doombug.
Oh, applesauce on Liquipedia was listed as Among Stars, Zol, and Hato.
Yeah,
Among Stars their sub, Spuda's their starter.
Yeah. I think the other team, like I just want to give a quick shout out. I think Zookeepers is nuts, and I know that like a lot of people. I just want to say, like, as a dark horse, I'm serious. Watch out for Zookeepers on playing day because they have a weird play style that will just like if you're not ready for it, it'll surprise you.
I've seen them play, so I agree with that one a little bit.
Yeah, that's in my opinion, that's like one of those teams where if you're not ready and you think you're gonna sleep through that game. Good luck.
Yeah. Is there any last teams that any of you guys want to shout out really quickly before we go into our closeout? I know we just kind of did a couple, but any others?
I mean, you can even
any final thoughts for RLRS even? I mean, it doesn't even need to be another team mention.
I mean,
I'm looking right
you
now
can even toss in the top 16 like Geno Cobb's name.
I have a statement I'd like to make
Bork.
about last RLRS.
What, top 16?
If they would have had 10 teams last RLRS, that would have been much better for me. That is all.
Would have worked out a lot better in y'all's favor.
Would have worked out a lot better.
There's a lot of like this season is just so ridiculous that like And I think another thing I just want to say about Zabumafu, I'm not sure Zabumafu is playing with Krazix. That's just
I was going off of all the Liquipedia listings.
Okay. Yeah,
They might be playing with Shaw.
I think they're playing with Shaw instead of Kravzik. And
Okay.
then the other team that I want to say that is like a weird team that like I don't want to count out is the Dudes. And I just want to give a shout. I just want to give a quick shout out to the boy Ralph, because Ralph no matter what he does, he's young bubble team legend, goated. Every single time people count out Ralph, that dude comes into RLRS and goes, "I told you," and then we're like, "Oh yeah, Ralph's in RLRS again." So the other player on that team is Spider, and I think Spider is one of the most creative defensive solo players that there is in the bubble scene right now. I think if Spider can get going and Ralph just plays his regular, calm game, that could be a scary team on playing day. Yeah, but I just want to say Ralph is a legend, and it's that simple.
Yeah, that was the team I was even looking at. That was like,
what about Speedy Boys?
Oh, and yeah. Speedy Boys is another team. They don't scrim. Okay, they do not scrim.
Wait,
they
what?
They don't scrim, and they don't even. One of Mike Vincent is for.
Why?
But I don't know. I don't know. But that team, so talented. If they were scrimming and getting results, they would be up near. They would easily be top 10 in my opinion. But it's funny because before the season started, probably about 3-4 months ago, I was telling everybody if Wonder Mike gets on a team, he's in RLRS. Now, because of the way that he hasn't been playing and like just the way everything shook out, I don't know. But if Speedy Boys made a run, I would not surprise me at all, because Wonder Mike is one of the most talented players by far that I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, his two teammates are pretty solid in their own right. Vince and Esper pretty solid players. That is so weird, though. Why would you not scrim?
I don't know the exact reasons for it, but I think it's just like scheduling and timing for them.
I could get that then.
But as far as like all their talent levels and their skill levels, that actually it's weird because I don't know if that'll play in their favor.
No one's been able to like watch them play.
But they don't know how they play. So it's like if they just go in and just play like their game and just go, okay, I guess we're just gonna play. You never know; it could work out because you're not constantly worrying about their weaknesses. They're not constantly like, oh my god, here we go again. It could definitely go the other way though, where it's like, hey, we don't even know what we're doing and we're just getting destroyed.
Yeah. One team I did want to bring up now that I see their name again. Now I wanted to bring it up to you guys as players because when I had LeafX on the show before,
I know where you're going.
And when I saw Gibbs' predictions last season, both of them picked this team.
I already think.
I already know. I think I know too.
Pink Hair Fan Club.
Pink Hair Fan Club, yeah.
I personally don't agree with that team being like a huge player in this, but I want to hear like from you guys as players, like what y'all's thoughts are on this.
You guys go first. I want to know.
No comment.
I don't even think they like play the game together. Like, I think it was just kind of a last-ditch effort to put a team together, and it was kind of to see if they made RLRS.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're going to do better than the last iteration.
I think they'll do better this time, but I still don't think that this is a team
I don't
really
think
worth watching.
I don't think they're gonna.
Who was Pink Hair last season?
It was the same team, but instead of who was it? Instead
I think
of
it was Matt
Ty?
instead of Ty.
Yeah, they had Matt.
Oh yeah.
So they'll be better with Ty, I think, but I still don't think they're gonna go super far.
Yeah. My honest opinion on them, and this is like, oh god, here we go. Of course, I am that guy. So,
well, I mean, I brought it up. You can blame me.
No, I love it because that is a team that needs to be talked about. Because that team and Applesauce, and Speedy Boys, I want to know where they're going to be seated. Because
same.
I don't understand how you could because you have Prime Thundah and Tana Tyler on that team, and they're both rank S players. I don't care what anybody says, that holds weight. People are going to look at that and go, well, I have to put them above them, even though the results they're going to be somewhere in there. And same with Applesauce, where you're like, oh, Zol and Hato and Spuda, those are names that everybody recognizes. But I think with Pink Hair Fan Club, you have you have a potentially dominant duo in Tana Tyler and Prime Thundah. But I mean this with all seriousness. I don't know what Soul Flares is as a player.
Yeah.
And I think that because of that, I've never seen an opportunity for him I've never seen him grasp the opportunity and be like, all right, this is what I did, and I'm impressing all these people. Most players that I talk to, they don't know about him. It's not like you know his play style. It's not like you know what his weaknesses are. It's just Soul Flares. And
I don't know if I've played them that much at all.
That's what I'm saying, and like that's another person that like I don't know if like it's just a throw together team or what.
And that's my thing too is like if they did Prime Thunder, Ty Tyler, and then managed to get someone else who like has more experience and results behind them, like yeah, they would be those favorites, and I think that they could be a more lethal team, but. That kind of leads me into like my next question. I know that we're still going on. I'm gonna try and end this soon, but this is the final question.
Go ahead. I can talk about that.
When seeding happens, do you guys think that it should come down to results, or do you think that it should be results with a mixture of name recognition? Name recognition, wow. I guess by that name recognition, like
which
stuff,
should have
stuff
priority?
like six mans.
I mean, in season, what was it? Season 5 or 6 when Chrome's team got a second seed, even though they didn't play in anything besides a tournament where they lost first round.
No, and that's my reason I'm bringing this up.
You gotta have an even balance to it. You gotta know what wins a little bit too much for a team that hasn't played at all.
Right, like a team like Avidity, it's interesting because like you see the results, but you also then look at the names and you're like, that team had that results, and if you're not super in tune with the bubble, you'll be like, what just happened? But I think that they've proven themselves. And then you see a team like Pink Hair Fan Club where it's the complete opposite, where it's like, oh, look at that. They've proven themselves in the past, and they have names to back up what they've done in the past. But it's like, what have they done right now? You don't see those results. And like they've been beaten by teams where you're like, whoa, I don't know how they lost to them. And like the positive results don't outweigh the negatives. I think that there's some teams that everybody has negative results sometimes, except for Afterthought, because screw them. But but legitimately, like you don't have that like outweighing thing. And I think that when you're talking about seeding, I think that it's not about, I don't know if name recognition is the right word I'm looking for.
No, like when I said that, it was like sort of a mixture of like, oh, they have results in the past, but also mix that kind of like with maybe what rank they are in six mans, for instance.
See, like and that's where like I like put it like this for our team. Like Bork and Seal are rank B. Is it because they're rank B, or is it because they don't play? And
exactly.
but if you don't know, then you're going, oh, Bork and Seal are rank B, Rawgreg is rank A. Rawgreg is better than Bork and Seal. Not true. But at the same time, like I feel like six man isn't a good indicator, but I do think that like previous results in tournaments and previous results on like even just a community feedback thing is important too, because I think that a lot of these teams, like giving Avidity their credit, is going to weigh heavily too, because I think that if everybody's like Avidity's bad, like stop, it would be different. But everybody's saying, hey, no, actually Avidity's pretty good, so everybody like let's talk about this.
Well, it's that, and then it's like it's interesting because they use results from our tournaments and RBG and the skirmishes, like all these community events, they help lead into whatever your seeding is going to be. And so I think it's interesting when you see teams like you were mentioning before, how they got the second seed. They didn't play like at all. I think that and this could just be me as like a tournament organizer speaking, but like I almost feel like you should have to play in a certain amount of tournaments if you hope to get that 10th seed, along with the results to back that up. And I don't mean like 10 tournaments or something, but like at least like 3 or 4, please.
Right. And I think that if you have a certain amount of results against teams, like the other thing is that I think all the players know in the scene, like who is good regardless of their teams. Like when you look at Speedy Boys, you know, a seeder can look at that's not paying attention to these tournaments and just looks at like numbers only, could look at it and go, what happened to the Speedy Boys or what happened to Pink Hair? And they can start putting them on the same plane where it's like, no, actually Speedy Boys is legit, or Avidity is way more legit than Pink Hair Fan Club regardless of names. And it's a balance, but I think that you have to have, in my opinion, seeding has to be done. It's good the way it's being done right now, but there needs to be more of an understanding of how it's being done.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was like sort of more of an outline to exactly how we're going to handle seeding. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't envy these guys doing seeding. I don't envy Cloud Fuel and any of these guys who are having to do seeding. No. It sucks at the end of the day. Like trying to rank some of these teams is just outrageous to me because it's so hard, it's so stupidly difficult.
Yeah, especially when you start getting outside of the bubble scene that people know.
Yeah,
I mean, let's not even talk about 60-32. Let's talk about like 90-128. That's a nightmare.
I mean, I do this weekly, and I talk about some players that like I've never even seen. There are weeks that I come in, I'm like, I have never commentated this team before, and we've done like 39 tournaments now, And there are still teams that I see. I'm like, I have no clue who any of these people are.
Right. And that makes it makes it a weird situation. But I was even telling Dazrin, it's interesting that Dazrin doesn't get a choose in seeding because he's getting to see all these teams up close and personal with his eye, and he gets to see the results, and he's hosting them, and it's like, that's somebody that you would want seeding because that's a fair seeder.
Yeah, it's someone who has everything in the back of their mind of like what's going to be fair.
Right, because then he also has the eye test to go to it too. Like, you know, if Bullsend had a ton of results and Afterthought didn't, but I'm looking at Afterthought and it's like, well, I think Bullsend's better than Afterthought, but it's like if you saw Afterthought, you wouldn't say that Bullsend's the best team.
Yeah, especially considering Afterthought just 4-0'd him.
Well, I know it's just like I don't know how to like because there's no team that's like that right now that I could say, okay, well if you saw them, you'd understand what I'm saying. But yeah, no, I totally get it. Like it's weird to measure results versus like the eye test and then also
just like name recognition. That's the only way I could think. That's the only way I could think to like really say it was name recognition, just because like that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. As someone who's just looking at the bracket, like sometimes that's just kind of what it feels like.
Like, do previous play-ins matter? Like, are you going to sit there and say, oh, Bork and Seal got to the play-in game, therefore they're a high seed? Or do you say Bork and Seal got to the play-in game and lost, therefore I don't know about them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just so strange. Or like, or even somebody like Thundah who just got there last year too.
How many seeders do they have though?
I think it's 10.
Yeah, they have several. Some of which are just like community members.
Well, I'm assuming
feels like the main one that everybody knows.
Yeah, I know another one.
Yeah, I know a couple, but I don't really want to
yeah.
name anybody who
isn't
isn't like properly known out by everybody else.
I'm assuming they all have their different way of going about it.
Yeah,
I assume they all wear black robes with masks on, so no one will ever know who they are.
They meet every 6 months to discuss.
Yeah, they meet every 6 months.
Completely anonymously, nobody knows who anybody is.
Let us convene for the ranking of the cars.
The only one that people know is Cloudfield. He's the center of it.
He's the center of it.
He's just the most public about it is all. Like that's the only reason that anybody says anything about him.
Yeah,
in order to make the seeds, they have to sacrifice an ex-pro's career.
Who is it this year? Who is it this year, bro?
We'll see.
Watch out, Satthew.
Watch out, Satthew.
What?
Oh man, you're starting fights here. Before we get too far along, we're gonna go ahead and close it out. I'm gonna start with you, Bork. Where can people find you, follow you, do whatever plugs you want to do?
You can follow me in the ranked arena, or you can follow me on Twitter, which my I think is down below. It's just at Bork, Bork, B-R-K-K, B-R-K. Yeah.
Cool. Rawgreg?
Yeah, I don't really stream because my computer is terrible. And yeah, you can follow me at Rawgreg RL. And yeah.
Sweet. Satthew?
On Twitter, find me at SatthewRL. On Twitch, even though I'm not streaming because the semester started and school is hell, it's just Satthew.
I don't envy you. I don't miss school. Thundah?
On Twitter, you can follow me at ThundahRL, and on Twitch, you can follow me at Thundah because I got that OG name. And in real life, I prefer you stay away from me.
Nice.
Oh, no.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you all here. I think we had a lot of awesome conversation, and I hope you guys had some fun too with it.
Absolutely, Ryan. We appreciate you having us on. Like, this is always fun to talk about this stuff because, like, literally, this is literally what's on every single bubble player's mind.
Oh yeah.
We talk about this anyways.
This is like ESPN. This is like ESPN for
like
bubble players.
This is ESPN. Imagine we're all sitting at a desk like Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless just debating.
You know, one day we will.
Well, we will.
Imagine Stephen A. Smith debating RLRS.
No.
I'm telling you, I think that he's the best player.
That's actually my dream. Stephen A. Smith commenting on RLRS.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching us home. We appreciate you joining us. This has been Around the Scene, episode 23, presented to you by Playing with Rockets. I'm Ryan. That's Rawgreg, Thundah, Bork, and Satthew, and it has been our pleasure to have you guys with us. We will see you guys next week. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you at RLRS play-ins this Saturday.